Hello everybody. This video will attempt to explain the origins of humanity and how it connects to human history, human civilization, and human philosophy about what comes after death. To do this, I am connecting very many dots, and I am starting with sections of the book from Ancient Dacia by Nicolae Densușanu, and from there I will go beyond the book to connect dots as probably no one has ever done in the history of humanity other than those that are privy to this knowledge. Possibly there are those among us today that still know these things. However, no one really speaks about it publicly. Everything is compartmentalized. Egyptians are Egyptian specialists. Sumerians are Sumerian specialists. Roman mythology has its own specialists, and so forth. Here we go. First, we must understand the duration of the Pelagian Empire. It's split into three sections. The first two sections are the dynasty of the gods and the demigods, and the third dynasty is the dynasty of the Mani or Moshi, which translates into English as all people. The first dynasty was the dynasty of the gods. They were big in size, and gods applies to the people living on earth, the people that saw themselves as gods, because there's the gods in terms of land, as Nicolae Densușanu says, and then there's the gods in terms of actual living being as part of human history. These are the ones from history. We are using here the two things that Densușanu used. The interpretations of a man named Manetho and a man named Eusebiu. Manetho said they ruled over Egypt for 13,900 years, and Eusebiu said they were lunar years of 30 days. The demigods obviously had the gods as their parents. Manetho said they ruled for 5,212 years, and Eusebiu said they were lunar years of 30 days. That adds up to 19,112 years, as Densușanu says, primitive Egyptian years, which correspond to 1,567 solar years and 31 days for the total reign of the first two dynasties. The third dynasty of the Mani, perhaps meaning man, or Moshi, all people, is most likely the reign of mortals, or our reign, unlike the first two dynasties which were immortals. Perhaps we are still part of this dynasty, and I am not stating here when the end of the first two dynasties was. I am suspecting it was around 600 BC, but I can't say for sure just yet, so I'm not going to even worry about this third dynasty. I'm just presenting the beginnings. Sources from history that support this ideology, one of them is Pompeo Trogo, who says the rule of the okay, so Herodot said that the Scythians, which were the Aramei or Arimi of northern Europe, once ruled over all of Asia. The duration of this rule, according to Pompeo Trogo, was 1500 years. What Herodosa can also be found in the history of the Persians, Indians, and Chinese. Romanian tradition says, in the Carpathians and at the lower Danube, there used to live a grey warrior nation, which were tall people who came from sun rays east and ruled the entire world. If you recall, chapter 2 talks about the arrival from the Altai mountains of the Hyperboreans. These people thought they were true gods, like living gods. Out of these people, one of them was Novak the Elder. I'm not sure which one of these divinities he is. I'm pretty sure it's just another name for one of the first self-titled gods. He and his people only stayed for 300 years in the Dacian lands, or the Carpathian Mountains, and then went towards sunset or west, or were drowned in a flood by God. Used to be known as giants. These are the titans and giants of the Greek theogony. In the first book of Moses, they are the powerful ones from antiquity or the renowned people. The Latin phrase is hominum potentissimi gigantes homines ab omni memoria celebris. I did not know Moses spoke Latin. Romanian tradition says they only stayed for 300 years. This refers to only the first dynasty. Herodotus says there were 8 gods in this first dynasty, also called the Grey Gods, out of which there is Montu, another name for Uran, Saturn, another name for Kronos or Seb, and Typhon, another name for Seb. Herodotus establishes as chronological law 3 rulerships of 3 generations per 100 years. This law applied to all 8 Grey Gods. We get a total of 266 years and 8 months. The conclusion is that the first 2 dynasties ruled for 1500 to 1567 years, and the 8 Grey Gods from the Titan family ruled only 266 to 300 years. Pages 1182 to 1884 speak about, of the book Ancient Dacia, speak about all that I just stated. Let's see what Wikipedia says happened. Oh yeah, so the start of his reign was around 6000 BC. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say about this time period. It says culture in the Near East. The Chalcolithic comes, or the Copper Age, comes to the Fertile Crescent. This area encompasses Arabia, Syria, Sumeria, Jerusalem, Palestine, Mesopotamia, Assyria, those areas. Brick building started or was taking place in modern day Çatalhöyük, Turkey. Clearly an ancient city. Agriculture appears in the Nile Valley. Hassuna culture in Mesopotamia, earliest version of stamps or stamp seals. Beginning of Tel Zaydan culture in Syria. Beginning of Tepe Hassanlu culture in Iran. Beginning of Zayande river culture in Iran. Samara culture in present-day Mesopotamia began in this period also. Irrigation in the beginning of the Sumerian civilization in southern Iraq. Temples founded in southern Mesopotamia. Metsamor, Armenia, Neolithic stone circles. In Europe, Neolithic agriculture spread through Anatolia and the Balkans. Cycladic culture begins. What is this? Helladic chronology and Minoan chronology. And then eventually finally get to Vinca culture emerges on the shores of the lower Danube, beginning of the Cucutan Tripilian culture in the region of modern-day Romania, Moldova, and southwestern Ukraine. And then the Danubian culture. In South Asia, we have some pottery in Pakistan. In China, we have the beginning of a whole bunch of cultures. In the New World, we have Sydney rock engravings in Australia. The red paint people, or pre-Columbian culture indigenous to the New England and Atlantic Canada regions of North America, becomes established in the region from present-day Labrador to the state of New York. How the heck did it get there? Agriculture may have begun in the Americas. So in other words, all these cultures, based on my previous presentation, can be attributed to the reign of Uran. So then, he is known as the first king near Mount Atlas, north of the Danube, named Uranus. Uranus also means Muntanul in Romanian. Muntanul, translated into English, means mountain man. Diodorus Siculus said Uran was the firstborn king of the Atlanteans. If you recall my chapter 2, part 1, there's a passage where it says Pelasgus says he's the first earthborn. Born on Earth. Born on Earth. So where the heck did he come from? Clearly not from Earth, right? Also said he was the first to gather people and made them live in villages and cities, banned living without laws like wild beasts, taught cultivation and how to preserve fruits for consumption, and many other things for daily living. He had knowledge of the stars and knew what events would occur based on his interpretations. So then, he was the firstborn on Earth, meaning that his parents are not of Earth, and he has the knowledge of his parents who are not of Earth, and he just brought it to Earth. He introduced the yearly system based on the course of the sun. He established the months of the year based on the course of the moon and specific days. There was no interpretations of the stars prior to him, therefore the people saw him as truly divine. Now, when we're speaking about people here, are they Earth-born prior to him or Earth-born after him? Considering the migratory paths from chapter 2, considering they are warrior-like people, chances are there were still people here on Earth that were prior to the Pelagians and the reign of Uran. But who knows? After his death, he was venerated forever as a divinity for his knowledge of the sky and for his merits. He applied the name Muntanul for the Cheriu, which means sky. So what we interpret as a mountain to him is the sky. Requires further analysis, right? In Romanian, Luna equals moon and Luna equals month. They mean the same. The word Luna is used for both. He had 45 kids with multiple wives, out of which 22 with his wife Titaea or Titana mother of the Titans. After her death, because of her merits and wisdom, she was placed among the divinities and given the name Gaia. Wait a minute, she's Gaia? What? Pelagians were a military and political institution. The first noble class was called the Titani or Titans, with the epithet of Pumunten, or Earthborn or Earthlings, and they are the regal dynasty. So if Uran was the first Earthborn, obviously his kids are also the first of the Earthborn, which makes them royalty, right? Royal bloodlines. Another class was Mesariashi, or the professionals, who were industrials, and Hesiod called them Cyclopes, or Cyclops. They were the ones who built things. And apparently they had great knowledge of how to even move the courses of water, make rivers, lakes, flood areas, irrigate areas, build stone architecture, megalithic architecture, and so forth. You know, when we walk around and we look around at buildings made out of brick, and we're like, holy crap, those are some giant video windows or doors. These are the ones that built them, the Meseriashi, who Hesiod called Cyclope or the Cyclops. And if this, apparently this happened over only 1,500 years. Hesiod said the military power was the Centimani, and there was only 3 of them, and each had 50 military groups, each ruled by a captain. I do not know how many individuals was in each group, but it sounds like an army. Clearly, this was an invasionary force, in a sense, if you need such an army, but at the same time, they are still Earthborn, right? They're still Titans. They're just warrior Titans. It was a theocratic society under Uran, all public affairs conducted in the name of the divinities. Uran was an absolute monarch. In his hands, he united all power from a political, administrative, judiciary, military, and sacerdotal or religious point of view. Montanul or mountain man is simply stating where he lived. But wait a minute. If you use the word montanul for the sky, was he really living in the top of the mountains, or was he living in the sky? His wife had the name Montana, which means mountain woman. Diodorus Siculus also said that all gods were people and that some of them received names based on the regions over which they ruled. So, like, there used to be a King Atlas, also a Titan. Well, he lived in the Atlas Mountains. So it makes you question again whether this Titan applies to the land itself or just the people that ruled there at one point in time. Kind of like the Atlanteans, right? Atlanteans was the king. I made a video about it. Kingdom of Atlas. Also in the Carpathians. But anyways, I don't want to derivate too much. Uran was the first ancestor of the Hyperboreans. Remember the migrations from the Altai Mountains to the Carpathian Mountains? We have to redefine this migration. I'll attempt to do that briefly here, a little bit later. Other names for Uran: Pelasgos, Pelasg. In Scythia, Papaeus. In Germany, Twistodeus, Terra Editus. In Macedonia and Thracia, some Greek word which is identical with the Roman words Jupiter Imperator. Aeschylus said Jupiter Urius was the founder of humanity. How could he found humanity when he had so many people? Are we talking about genetic engineering here? Hybrids. The picture of this individual is on page 1061 of the book. And that's in part the reason why I'm making this video, because at the pace I'm going, it would take like 2 years before I speak about this. This is the picture of him. And underneath it says, a statue suspected to be of Jupiter Imperator, also known as Urius, discovered in the ruins of Tindari on the septentrional coast of Sicily. Septentrional, it's the north coast, but it could also mean the ocean coast. Let's go with north coast. Today it's in the 1900 and was in the Museum of Palermo, restored by the sculptor Villareale, by Abbeken di Giove, Imperatore ossia Urio, Roma, 1839. To continue. The donor from Epir, that was a holy Pelagian city. Over there he was called Jupiter Imperator Pelasgus. The first people of Egypt moved there by Uran and were named Romi and belonged to the Arimi family from northern Thracia. So now we know he not only ruled over Europe, but he also ruled over Egypt. Specifically the Nile Valley, right? Egyptian priests refer to the old kings of Egypt as Piromi, which Herodot says it means honest and generous man. From Piromi, or better said Pirami, the name Piramide, that's Romanian, in English pyramids, is derived, which the Arabians call more correctly Haram, which means Arimi graves, their burial grounds. The pyramids were common for Pelagians. The Egyptian ones were the most luxurious. They are from 5000 AC, which I think means 7,000 years ago. Picture on page 1064. I'll get there. Let me finish this real quick because there's a second picture. The Romi are descendants today. Correction. In 1900, there was a group of people known as the Fellahi. They are the supposed descendants of the Romi. This Fellahi word supposedly is the reverse of the word of the name Arimi or Romi, based on Dan Sushanu. How he got this etymology, I would have to read more. I'll do it at some point. Egyptian name for first divine king was Uran. No, wait, correction. It was Montu or Mentu, which means the same thing as Montano or Uranus. Montu also had the epithet in Egypt of Ra, or king, and was portrayed with a curved sword, a mace, with an arc and arrows, the same symbology used in Dacia, which is around the Carpathian Mountains. The home of Montu is called Ka, Kai, and Terra, words identical with Gaia and Terra from Greco-Roman legends. So it seems the names these individuals used were based on names that already existed. That's what I'm thinking. There was people here before they came and the people before they came had their own philosophy, and then they just copy and pasted over the philosophy of the living people. And they did amazing things. They made it seem like they were truly divinity, like interpreting what's happening in the sky, like prophecy, right? Right? Prophecy. And then when things actually occurred, everybody was like, oh wow, this man must be divine. Anyways, in old Egyptian papyrus, Montu also has the names Tum, Tumu, Admu, Atumu for Plato, Tammuz, and in Ethiopian lists Tomai. Manetho calls Montu also Helios or the sun. Montura or Tum also had in Egyptian priest traditions the name Harmaku, or in Greek form Harmakis, Armakis, Harmais, and Armais. In other words, the Ariman or Arman. Arimani, we called Arimani. They're the ones that migrated everywhere. Harmakis wears on his forehead the diadem of south and north. I should have looked up what diadem means because I do not know. The Sphinx is cut in living stone. Living stone? What? Living stone. Wrap your mind around that. With legs and chest of a lion and the head of a man. It represents the image of Harmakis or Montu, and according to Pliny, it is his grave. So then, Uvran is also the Sphinx. The Sphinx was cut from living stone, and then it became the grave. It sounds to me like the consciousness of Uran was able to inhabit the Sphinx, and when the consciousness of Uran left the Sphinx became petrified. Egyptian priests considered Tum identical with Amun, supreme god of Thebes, and also the epithet of Altaika, page 1068. That's the second picture. Montutom Harmakis Amon means came out of the earth and is identical with a Greek expression and terra editus by Tacit. Now when they say came out of the earth, is that the same as earthborn or is it different as in literally came from within the earth like subterranean? Let me show you those two pictures. This picture, as beautiful as it is with its graininess, says the group of pyramids from Gizeh, which I believe is Giza, which she also considers Memphis. You can see the Sphinx here, the colossal Sphinx here named Montura Harmakis, semi-profile. It's as good as it gets, folks. Wish I could do better because we know that this area has been pillaged, especially in the last 100 years, quite a bit. As you can see here, this top looks different from this top and this top. It's more reflective. Probably all of the whole pyramid looked like this at some point in the past. I'm not the guy to analyze Egyptology and all this bullshit. I'm just the guy to point out the connections. Because no one else seems to be doing it. Everyone else is stuck compartmentalized in one specific area or another. This is a better picture of the Sphinx, at least the front view, from Giza, cut in living stone, representing the figure of Montura Harmakis or Uran, with the legs and chest of a lion revealed for the sixth time in 1886 from underneath the massive sand dunes, which continuously gather around the pyramids for a longer series of centuries, by Maspero from his book Egypt et Chaldee. It's the best I can do. This helps anybody? Good for you. I also want to read the note. Based on what Pliny says, I think it's Pliny the Elder, the circumference of the head in front, or the forehead, no, the circumference of the head around the front, or the forehead, is 30 meters and 17 centimeters. The length of the body is 42 meters and 29 centimeters. And the height from I guess this area, which is the chest area, until the tip of the forehead is 18 meters and 33 centimeters. From the body of the from the body of the lion of the statue today, there exists only a general form. Maspero writes something else, but it's in French. It's probably a passage from his book Egypt et Chaldee, page 249. I briefly looked online. I think it is posted, this guy's book, like 17 volumes. So those are the pictures of the Sphinx and the pyramids. And finally, in this slideshow I put together, then Sushanu also writes that he is the Lord of Lords, the King of the Gods, the Parent of the Parents, the Power of the Powers, the Great God, the Master of the Sky, of the Earth and the Inferno, of the waters, of the mountains, the start of forms, possibly profiles or facial features. Boom, that right there makes you wonder. Perhaps the original inhabitants prior to them did not have profiles or facial features, because they were just lands or elementals, primeval deities. To be continued. The author of humanity, the creator of all species of animals, the author of pastoral fields for animals and nutritious plants for people, he rules over two areas of the earth, the south and the north. Makes you wonder what these areas are. Is it south as in Egypt and north as in the Carpathian Mountains? Or is it south as in earth and north as in the sky? Hard to say. And that's about all from the book. Next, we must analyze something important presented on Wikipedia. I can get into all this. There's no point. You can do it yourself. You can see his descendants. You can see the list of the children he had. Let's see, is it 22? 1, 2. I don't know if these are a lot more than 22. Perhaps there's names that are duplicates. Who knows? What I want to point out was his Roman equivalent, Caelus, and his Mesopotamian equivalent, Anu. Wait a minute. He has a Mesopotamian equivalent, Anu? The story of the Anunnaki is the story of Uran, the story of the Hyperboreans, the story of the Atlanteans, the story of the Egyptians, the story of the entire world, of Roman mythology, of Greek mythology, is the story of the Anunnaki? Okay, let's analyze this for a minute. Anu, or An, is the divine personification of the sky, or supreme god, an ancestor of all the deities in ancient Mesopotamian religion. Anu was believed to be the supreme source of all authority for the other gods and for all mortal rulers, and he is described in one text as the one who contains the entire universe. Ooh. He is identified with the North Ecliptic Pole, centered on the constellation Draco, and along with his sons Enlil and Enki, constitutes the highest divine triad, personifying the three bands of constellations of the vault of the sky. Now, the divine triad, this right there tells me big time that it's the same guy. Why? Because there's the Capitoline triad. A group of three deities who were worshipped in ancient Roman religion in an elaborate temple on Rome's Capitoline Hill. They comprise Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. I don't know about these names. I will need to analyze more. But here we have a divine triad. Triple deity. Threefold, triple, triplicate, tripartite, triune, or triadic. Three deities that are worshipped as one. Such deities are common through world mythology. The number three has a long history of mythical associations. An archetype in the history of religion. Oh, there we go. So, not only the Capitoline triad, but also Trinity. The Trinity. The Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. They were all ruled by the same consciousness. Uran, initially. And his family. Dun 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 dun. So in other words, Uran would be the father, the Son would be the Saturn, and the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit, is the seed, which in us is our semen or eggs. So the Holy Ghost is the future, which makes you wonder why the Sun or Saturn ate all his children except for Jupiter, who escaped and actually took over. Haha. So he had two sons. One is Enlil and one is Enki. Let's go to Enlil. Enlil, later known as Elil, is an ancient Mesopotamian god associated with wind, air, earth, and storms. He is first attested as the chief deity of the Sumerian pantheon, but he was later worshipped by the Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, and Hurrians. Babylonian equivalent, Elil. Hurrian equivalent, Kumarbi. Kumarbi is the chief god of the Hurrians. He is the son of Anu, and father of the storm god Teshub. He was identified by the Hurrians with Sumerian Enlil, by the Greeks as Kronos or Saturn, see, and by the Ogaritians with El. The beauty about the word El is, going back to the book, sorry, I should have had this already, but one of the names for Saturn, let's see, Saturn rules over Asia, the Chaldeans and their, okay, boom. The Phoenicians named Saturn El, a name which we also find in the Book of Moses, applied to the supreme divinity of the Hebrews. The Hebrews, writes Tacit, celebrated the seventh day in the honor of Saturn. The epithet of Sabbath, which is attributed to the divine majesty in the Old Testament, cannot be explained from the Jewish or Hebrew language, sorry. The authors of antiquity considered this denomination as identical with Sabazius. Still, both forms of these names, Sabbath and Sabazius, are derived from Sabus and Seb, the name of Saturn. And going back to this Phoenician's name Saturn El, that's the first reference. It's from Philobiblius. And his book is Phoenicia, I'm assuming, Historia or Histogram. In Fragment, History, blah blah blah. Also, Diodori said the same thing in his text. I wish she would have listed the whole freaking name so I can research them better. But for the purposes of this video, I do not care. I just wanted to point out that Saturn is El. Saturn is Kronos. Saturn is Seb, Sabbath, and a whole bunch of other names. The story that will tell me for sure that the story of the Anunnaki is the story of the Pelagians, the story of the Egyptians, the story of the Romans, the story of the Greeks, the Thracians, the Dacians, pretty much the entire world, is the story of Saturn cutting off Uran's penis. Is it replicated in Anunnaki mythology? Let's see. Let's see. Wait. If that story would appear, it would appear under Anu, right? The Sumerians believed that the rain was Anu's seed. That makes sense. See, the Holy Spirit, baby. Wata. Or rather, fresh water, sweet. Yum. Is that why fresh water tastes so good? Because it's the seed of Anu. In Hittite mythology, Anu overthrows his father Alalu. So he's the father of Iran. I'll have to research that. Proclaims himself ruler of the universe. He himself is later overthrown by his own son, Kumarbi. Anu attempts to flee, but Kumarbi bites off Anu's genitals and swallows them. What? Saturn ate all his children. Jupiter escaped. Saturn cut off his father's penis. And here this Kumarbi bites off Anu's genitals, which in essence is killing the genealogy of his father. Except for him, right? Saturn and his brothers and sisters. Kumarbi then banishes Anu to the underworld. The underworld! Along with his allies, the All Gods, whom the Hittites syncretized with the Anunnaki. As a consequence of swallowing Anu's genitals, Kumarbi becomes impregnated with Anu's son, Teshub. Oh, and by the way, if you look at all these pictures, elongated skulls. And four other offspring. After he grows to maturity, Teshub overthrows his. Also, this Teshub guy is the Jupiter. And since we're talking about Jupiter, there's one more story that correlates to Jupiter, and that would be Marduk. Look at that elongated skull. Dun 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 dun. Come on, tell me what he did. Boom. In Enuma Elish, the creation story. I really need to read and break this story down with my perception of reality and present it to you guys. A civil war between the gods was growing to a climactic battle. The Anunnaki gods gathered together to find one god who could defeat the gods rising against them. Marduk, a very young god, answered the call and was promised the position of head god. To prepare for battle, he makes a bow, fletches arrows, grabs a mace. Whoa, look at that mace, arrows, bow. Throws lightning before him, fills his body with flame, makes a net to encircle Tiamat within it, gathers the four winds so that no part of her could escape, creates seven nasty new winds such as the whirlwind and tornado, and raises up his mightiest weapon, the rain flood. The rain flood. Jupiter the flood. Then he sets out for battle, mounting his storm chariot drawn by four horses, with poison in their mouths. Storm chariot drawn by four. Interesting. In his lips he holds a spell, and in one hand he grabs a herb to counter poison. So he poisoned the people. First he challenges the leader of the Anunnaki gods, the dragon of the primordial sea, Tiamat, to single combat, and defeats her by trapping her with his net, blowing her up with his winds, and piercing her belly with an arrow. Then he proceeds to defeat Kingu, who Tiamat put in charge of the army, and wear the tablets of destiny on his breast, and wrestle from him the tablets of... Point being, under his reign humans were created to bear the burdens of life so the gods could be at leisure. Does this sound like the introduction of the Trinity and abandonment of free will to you? Does it sound like original sin? It sounds like this is how this Marduk guy, also known as Jupiter, also known as Jove, also known as Jovi, the son of Saturn, cut off the entire world, Earth realm, from the other realms. In other words, they're still among us and they still rule to this day. Joe and his, or rather Marduk and his proteges. I need to study this more. It seems that the Sumerian mythology does a good job to present history. These are not just stories, these are history. I'm presenting history here. So, the Anunnaki are the Pelagians. The Pelagians are the Hyperboreans. See the elongated skulls? The Hyperboreans were made up of several groups that pretty much found a civilization in the Carpathian Mountains, out of which the first one was Atlantis. But one of these groups was called the Agaturshi. Now we know Agaturshi today as Agarthians from the land of Agartha, inner Earth. You can research this for years and never figure out what the heck. Anyways, the Agartha is the inner world, has city of Shambhala, other cities. There's another sun on the inside, and so forth. By the way, this is not what I see the world as. However, there's a person, a Romanian person by the name of Tamarinda Masan, who considers herself the ambassador of the Garfins. I will probably analyze what she says in full detail. There are some things she says I agree with, other things I see as deceptive or misinformed. I just want to point out the name Agaturshi, which appears on several old maps, and what it means.
It is known that in Romania, over the territory of Romania, a nation called Agatur lives.
So, as you can see, it is known that in Romania, in territorial Romania, the ancients called Agaturshi lived. They used to be called the Agaturshi. They used to be called the Aryan Mani, meaning the Aryans. So then, wait a minute. Wait, not that one. The Arimani. The Pelagians or the Proto-Latins, the Arimi. Another word for Arimani. Arimani, so this really should say the Aryans. The Aryans, because this lady, this ambassador of the Agarthians, literally just said, Agatershi used to be called Aryan Mani, meaning the Aryans, or the Arimani that I've been mentioning a million
by the
times.
word
She
Aryan
also says something else
Mani.
important.
They used to be called the
I'll just fast forward. No reason to break this down. In Sanskrit, everybody knows that in Agartha there are the Aryans. Agartha actually means to give life. They are of the ancestors of the Dacians people, of the Rahmans, of Romanians. Ooh. Alright, alright. What else we got? And Dacians means to give the energy of life. Da means to give in Romanian language. I know this for sure. I speak Romanian, so da means to give for sure. And chi is the energy of life. Chi, ci, which has become chi based on how we pronounce it. Chi. Pronounced da chi. To give life. Okay? Do you understand? Where do we find chi mythology? So Agartha means the territory of the Aryans, okay? I'll have to analyze that in more depth, but where else do we find chi? Heck, it's part of the name of the Dacians. Ada. To give. Give what? Chi. To give chi. What is chi? Chi. Oh, look at that. I did not even know. I really did not know about this. The 22nd letter of the Greek alphabet. Some sort of X. Translate. I thought this was related to like the Asian philosophies of Qi or wow, it's the same in every single language. I could have made a 2-second video of just this. Qi. Qi it's in Greek, in Chinese, in Igbo, in Japanese, Thailand, in science, in arts and media, people. Do you realize what I just presented to you? Or rather, Tamarinda Masan. Thank you for this, Tamarinda Masan. So Dacia, no, not the freaking car. I don't care about that. This was Dacia. This was Desha about 2,000 years ago. So Desha was a later name. So these people wanted to give life, not take it. So it makes you wonder, were they under the rule of Jupiter or evil? Or were they under the rule of good or or goodness? Let's see what the etymology says about this word, if there is. Etymology. Nothing? There's no translation. Ha! Ha! Thank you, Tamarinda. This word. This word. To give. Chi. Wow. Just wow. Just wow, 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 wow. Dacian is an extinct Indo-European language. Get the F out of here. It's not extinct, it's very much alive. It's Romanian, you. Anyways, so the Agatirshi are the Arimani from Nicolae Densușanu's book, and they are the Aryans that history remembers, or the Proto-Indo-Europeans, which actually went through the entire world. Because this word alone, chi, proves they were in Asia, proves they were in the Americas, because well, American language is not based on America. It's English, and English is based on England. Actually, no. English is a combination of several languages, but still with Pelagian roots. Wow, to give chi. Anyways, what did I want to get to? This is how I view our universe. It's kind of like a fertilized egg, if you will. So this would be the egg. This would be the sperm, which has roots at both ends. I guess this would be south, this would be north. But it's not like actual branches of energy of a tree. It's more like a energy, frequencies. In the very center of this is our realm, Earth. Right here, right here is Earth. So if you cut this tree in slices, and each slice represented a specific dimension or plane of existence or set of frequencies, that slice could be called a territory. So in the very center, the heart, right, like the heart chakra, that would be Earth, our current realm, which means there are worlds that go above, the higher realms, the upper realms, the divine realms or good realms, and there are realms that go below, or the evil realms, the underworld, if you will. So, in this section of the universe, which can also be And by the way, this picture is very trippy. Stare at it long enough, it'll start to rotate. So we are just kind of like this. This one section right here, the center. Well, this is Earth here, and the rest of it is sky, right? But guess what? Based on what I just read about Iran, the Pelagians ruled this entire realm. But they are not from here. They are born from under the earth. Everyone thinks the Anunnaki are coming from the sky, but they're actually coming from the earth, from below. So what happens is every one of these sections has a world on this side where the underworld meets with the upper world and creates a frequency bandwidth, which we interpret as our reality. And there is also, on the upper end of this section of the tree of life, a world which is the frequencies from this section interacting with this section. And the space in between is air, the sky. And let me make sure you understand this. The Pelagian migrations were from the top of the world, of the underworld, from here. They are the epitome of evolution for all that represents the underside or negativity or evil. But this world had a prior civilization. Well, I wouldn't call it. This world had living beings prior to their arrival. So how can we interpret these living beings? As the locals, the elements, the elemental divinities. So they came in through the earth, through their subterranean tunnels from Agartha, their world over here, which is in the sky of the underworld. And they occupied this area, but apparently their extent of power goes all the way to the top, possibly bordering the next world, but in the world of today there's a dome. We are prevented from going to the next part. Now, on a grander scale, okay, we are enslaved. We can't go back up. We might be able to go down, but we definitely cannot go up. But on a grander scale, you have to view the model of the universe and the center like the helical heart model. The helical heart model says that the heart does not pump, the heart sucks in, which means that in all the upper worlds, as many as there may be, and in all the lower worlds, as many as there may be, there are souls. There are souls that are good, there are souls that are bad. In here, in this world, our world is supposed to be the balance, neutrality, a way for evil and good to coexist in our universe. Because what happens here is affecting our entire universe, which is like a torus. Okay? There has to be a balance. And each soul should be able to freely travel through the different worlds based on the perception of reality, lessons learned, experience. And when I say soul, I mean our consciousness. But something happened during the rule of Jupiter or Joe or Jovi or Marduk, as I just demonstrated, where our world is cut off to the top side. And the souls are trapped as stars in the sky, disconnected from the bodies. So, in other words, when we look at the sky, we're only seeing our world. We're not seeing this whole picture. We are only seeing our world. And when it comes to religion and history and everything that we understand, we are only presented the perspective or point of view from this lower world. We don't know nothing about this. So, in essence, to help free humanity from its current imprisonment and to restore the neutral balance of the universe, there are souls descending from these higher realms or trying to descend to fight to remove this control system. And supposedly, when great souls are born, sometimes a star with a tail is seen or a comet. Well, I was born in 1986. And what happened in 1986? 1986 comet. Oh my goodness. Say what? Say what? Halley's Comet. The greatest comet in the world in the recent years. Came in 1986. Can you believe that? The year of my birth, this thing showed up. Which, according to ancient religion, implies a great soul is born. So I was born in the year of this comet, and here I am, making presentations like this. Presenting the work, the most important work ever known to man. We are stuck here in the screen bandwidth of the trunk of life. We don't know what's above, we don't know what's, well, we may know what's below because all the mythology the Pelagians brought with them, we are still applying to this day. In fact, our entire reality is still an extension of their Agarthian world. But we know nothing from the worlds above, except for the purity of truth, what resonates as truth within our souls. So you bet your ass I believe I am somehow descended to fight here and now, but if I did happen to descend, I was here before as well. My soul is very old for me to be able to do these things, knowing that I could get assassinated or ridiculed, or my memory or reputation tarnished, or my family attacked, or personally attacked, or targeting me, or for me to do all of this. I have to be a great soul. And to fight this war, we have to understand who we are as people, as individuals. And I hope you understand the power of this video I just gave you. Because I have just given you the true enslavement of humanity and all that it's implied ever since. Also, the origins of humanity. One more thing. One more thing before I close this. It's very possible that in the very beginning there was a dance between good and evil to establish neutrality in this realm, on this plane of existence, before Jupiter cut that balance off. So, in other words, I am not saying the Pelagians are bad. I am not saying their perception of life is bad. I am not saying the judicial system is. I am not saying the laws, rules are bad. I am saying that the way they are being utilized in modern day, in present times, and for the last 2,000 years plus is bad. But just because this is a reflection of certain leaders of royal bloodlines does not mean it's a reflection of humanity as a whole. So the system of control must go down. In other words, the royal bloodlines must give up their power. They must give up their power. And they must allow people like me, who have nothing to gain, nothing to lose, to, to attempt to create some order out of this chaos that has become our reality. Now, I'm not saying that I want to rule. I am just saying that if I had the power to spread truth to more people better than YouTube allows me to, I would. But for me to grow that powerful, I must take my holy pilgrimage to the Carpathian Mountains, to the top of the world, and see the Romanian Sphinx, and travel through the mountains to see other places and start from there. And that's going to take a while because I don't have the finances of this world, and that's a whole nother story. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Powerful.